3 years have passed since Mudeok, who was Naksu in Bu-Yeon's body, without control of her own body, fatally wounded the man she loves. He survived only thanks to the power of the mighty ice stone that saved him at the last moment. With a broken heart, Uki became a powerful dark wizard, living isolated from others. Among the victims of the massacre caused by Naksu was the leader of the Jin family on the day of his daughter Cho-yeon's wedding. Since then, the family has not recovered and has remained locked on their property for 3 years, not opening the doors to anyone. One night, when alcohol merchants arrive to deliver drinks for the Jin family's rituals, they are greeted by Cho-yeon, still beautiful as spring, but now with a personality as cold as winter. During these 3 years, the country has been facing a terrible drought, and unable to waste water, Cho-yeon allows a merchant to enter the residence, where he finds a mysterious woman among the flowers. This stunning woman approaches, leaving the seller mesmerized by her beauty, and he hands her the wine he was carrying without a second thought. We soon realize that this beautiful face is familiar to us. Yes, despite being in an angelic version, this is the face of the powerful warrior Naksu. The question now is, if before it was Naksu in Bu-Yeon's body, is it now Bu-Yeon in Naksu's body? We will find out more later. Speaking of Naksu, she remains the most famous person in the country, and everyone sees her as a monster. Since no one knows the truth that she was also a victim controlled by Jin Mu, her name is still surrounded by many legends and rumors. Some believe that her body completely petrified, turned to dust, and was then transformed into amulets that ward off soul changers. Others believe that her body is still at the bottom of the lake and could return at any moment. While the merchants talk about these legends, they come across several bodies of soul changers dead on the ground. Terrified, they see emerging from the shadows the dark mage of Songgrim, Jang Uk. He has become the primary hunter of shapeshifters in Daeho, and his skills are infinitely superior to those of any other mage. In addition to the exorbitant power circulating in his body, his sword skills surpass even those of his former master, Naksu. The speed of his attacks is such that it leaves merchants dizzy just watching him fight. As he finishes off his enemies with the main move used by his former master, the name of Naksu is mentioned by the merchants, bringing painful memories of Jang Uk's past. On the outside, he only reveals his strong and cold side, while on the inside, his heart remains wounded and missing his master. He isolates himself in the forest, drinking and thinking about his great love, Naksu. At the same time, trapped in her own home, Bu-Yeon is also drinking with a sad look on her face. Despite the bustling streets of Daeho remaining beautiful, peace is shattered by an ugliness that contrasts with the surroundings. Another crazed shapeshifter runs in plain sight while being pursued by Park Dang-gu, a hunter and the current leader of Songgrim. When the creature flees to Jinyeon and the guards don't let anyone in, Dang-gu and Cho-yeon finally reunite after 3 years. The two who were once deeply in love and about to get married are now practically strangers to each other. The reason for this is that Cho-yeon cannot forgive Dang-gu for not protecting her father from Naksu's brutal attack. As the two move on with a mix of emotions while looking at each other, Uki observes them and hears about the shapeshifter having fled there. At a monstrous speed, he enters Jinyeon without anyone being able to stop him. Cho-yeon's mother, Lady Jin, is strangely worried about this, but she calms down when she remembers that the person hidden inside that place was highly protected by an invisible barrier. Yuki encounters the Soul Changer, sees her past with yet another of his new abilities, and kills her using his sword. However, after that, he discovers the invisible barrier that leads him to a room that resembled a prison. There, he finds Bu-Yeon pointing a fire poker in his direction, reminiscent of the scene from his first encounter with Naksu holding a crab leg. As Uki had never seen Naksu's original body, he does not recognize the woman in front of him. He ignores Bu-Yeon's threats and reproaches her by taking the object from her hand and throwing it against the wall. Impressed with his abilities, she uses her powerful puss in boots-like eyes to try to convince him to throw more objects at the wall so she can use them as a ladder to escape. Uki thinks she's a below-average crazy priestess and is not charmed. However, he quickly changes his mind when she reveals that she can see the energy of the heavens within him. She also reveals that she is locked in that place for the crime of being alive in a world where she shouldn't exist. This makes him sympathize with her. After all, his crime is identical, living when he should already be dead. That's why Yuki throws various random items at the wall, giving her an alternative way out and igniting a glimmer of hope in that woman. When he returns home, everyone was already waiting for him, concerned. When he kills a soul changer using that sword, which belonged to Naksu, bad nights would follow. Along with the great power of the ice stone, a kind of curse also came. Uki is haunted by ghosts, evil souls, and other shapeshifters who pursue him, wanting to steal the energy inside him. The price he has to pay for taking all the heavenly energy for himself is quite high. He had to live for all these 3 years with these bizarre things surrounding him, had to work killing soul changers, and he also has to deal with loneliness and the rejection of people who are afraid of him. The cost of this rebirth has also affected other people, like Park Jin, who was forced to step down as the leader of Songgrim in exchange for Uki's freedom, as he had committed the crime of covering up a murderer. Therefore, Dangu is now leading Songgrim. As Park Jin's nephew, he took on the duty and is doing a great job so far. Due to the boredom of forced retirement, Park Jin started taking care of the beautiful garden he promised to Kim Do-ju, in addition to planting, harvesting, and cooking horrible meals that torment his loved ones. Nevertheless, even though he has stepped down from his position, Uki still suffers a kind of condemnation, being seen as a sinister figure in society who walks in the shadows of abandoned places. He literally only goes out to kill shapeshifters and mock the heir apparent, who occasionally makes a visit out of obligation to deliver rewards for Uki killing soul changers. Jin Mu continues to work for the royalty as if nothing happened, pretending to be innocent. Bu-Yeon remains under the control of her mother, Lady Jin. However, now the woman has plans for the prisoner she calls her daughter. Bu-Yeon is going to get married, and her future husband is from the Seo family. We discover that this man is Yule's uncle, and that the engagement will not set her free from that place. On the contrary, she will spend the rest of her life in that prison, serving only to give birth to the next heirs who would have the divine blood and powers of the family to continue the lineage. Clearly discontent with her fate, Bu-Yeon escapes using the improvised ladder that Uki built for her. Her goal in this escape is to find her future fiancé and try to convince him to set her free. However, she has little time for this because the bracelet she is wearing, which is impossible to remove, is a tracker, and soon it will reveal her location. Based on information received from the brothel owner about the 4 most coveted bachelors in Daeho, also reminiscent of scenes from the first season, Bu-Yeon believes that her likely fiancé is Yule and goes after him, but she narrowly misses him, just like what happened in the first season. In her search, Bu-Yeon spots the 4th bachelor, the strongest and coldest man in Daeho, standing on the same bridge where one day, Naksu threw what was considered a love letter to him. Her expression is the same as the old Mudeok made when devising a plan, and that's exactly what she does. They sit down to talk, and she lays out all her qualifications: priestess, heir of Jin Yeon, and possessor of unmatched beauty. Having said that, she gets straight to the point. She wants him to be her husband because Uki is the most powerful man in Daeho, and no one would dare to oppose him, not even the Jin family. He is the only one capable of challenging her mother and freeing her from that prison. However, to Bu-Yeon's dismay, Uki does not agree with this crazy idea and lets her be captured by the guards of the Jin family. Later, with Yule's return, the 3 friends finally reunite. During dinner, Yule refuses to eat a single grain of the culinary crime that Park Jin cooked, while Dangu, after getting drunk, cries upon learning that the daughter of the Jin family is getting married. As he is unaware of Bu-Yeon's existence, he believes it is Cho-yeon who will marry. In a conversation with Park Jin, Uki discovers that Bu-Yeon is a powerful priestess capable enough to remove the ice stone inside him. However, the consequence for this would be Uki's death. But it seems to be exactly what he wants, as he feels guilty for not being able to save his great love. The wedding day arrives and Bu-Yeon is being prepared to marry a weak man, a puppet who will benefit from this marriage. Without hope of escaping, she is taken by boat to the cruel fate that awaits her. Suddenly, a mini tornado kidnaps the boat with her inside, and to the girl's happy surprise, she ends up in front of Uki, who was waiting for her. Radiant with happiness, she literally throws herself into his arms, reminding him of the hugs he received from Naksu when she was Mudeok. Everyone is desperate looking for her, and as Dangu knew about the wedding, people suspect that he kidnapped the boat thinking it was Cho-yeon who was getting married. Yes, Bu-Yeon was indeed kidnapped, but by Uki, and she can't hide how happy she is about it. When she finally releases him from her embrace, we immediately feel that same chaotic energy that existed between Uki and Naksu when they argued about her taking off the heavy wedding clothes to move faster. On the way, she reveals that her mother found her on the verge of death, and when she regained consciousness, she was physically well, but now has no memories. For now, Uki only cares to check if she is a soul changer, looking deep into her eyes to ensure she doesn't have that blue mark, like Naksu had on Mudeok's body. As he doesn't see the blue mark in her eyes, he believes she is not a swapped soul. So he establishes that their relationship will be purely for mutual benefit and cuts off any attempt of her getting close, even being rude to her, saying he only needs her powers and nothing more. A sinister shapeshifter in the lake overhears everything, sees the stone inside Uki, and begins to pursue them, changing from body to body. Meanwhile, Songgrim and Jin Yeon are in conflict because Lady Jin insists that Dangu kidnapped the bride. But Yul defends his friend, confirming that Dangu did nothing but cry and drink all night. For going to look for the imprisoned daughter and accusing an innocent person, Lady Jin is forced to admit that she hid her true daughter, Bu-Yeon, for 3 years. While everyone is shocked by this revelation, Bu-Yeon is being warmly welcomed into Uki's home by Kim Do-ju. The newlyweds come together to celebrate her escape and to formalize the marriage with a drink. However, Uki refuses to drink. Before that, he challenges her, asking her to extinguish a lamp to prove her divine powers. This lamp is a relic, so not just anyone could extinguish it. Unfortunately, she fails, explaining that she lost her powers along with her memories. Uki is disappointed to discover this and is again rude to her, saying that without powers, she is useless to him. Without any remorse, he asks her to leave, even though she says she felt a connection between them and assumes that she already genuinely likes him. Continuing with his cold demeanor, the most he does for her is to remove the tracking bracelet so she can disappear without being pursued. Not knowing where her daughter is, Lady Jin seeks the only person who could help her, Master Lee. And now, finally, we are revealed what really happened. 3 years ago, Naksu's soul got trapped in the body of Bu-Yeon, who was using the false name Mudeok, and as we already knew, they were sharing the same body until that last moment when she petrifies by the lake. However, Lady Jin, who took an eternity to recognize her own daughter, with the help of Master Lee, managed to recover the body that was already almost completely petrified. However, there was a significant problem. Bu-Yeon's soul was irrecoverable because it was too closely tied to Naksu's soul. Despite the body being completely petrified from the inside, the girl continued to live only thanks to the energy from Naksu's soul. In other words, he could save that body that had the Jin family's blood and Bu-Yeon's powers circulating in it. However, to do that, the saved soul would be Naksu's. We find out that Lady Jin never cared about her daughter. Instead, she cared about the powers she possessed. So she accepted sacrificing Bu-Yeon's soul to keep that power in the Jin family. However, to unleash the priestess's power, Naksu would have to regain her memories. And of course, if that happened, she wouldn't stay in the Jin family and would return to Uki. So Lady Jin preferred to erase the girl's memories and use her to conceive and generate new heirs with the priestess's powers. Now, to leave no more doubts, let me explain everything to those who didn't understand the change of actresses and who don't accept Mudeok not appearing in the second season. Mudeok was nothing more than Naksu's soul in Bu-Yeon's body. The woman Uki fell in love with was his master, Naksu. Naksu was the chosen soul to stay alive in this body, which, already practically petrified, using Naksu's energy to recover, ended up taking the original form of the warrior. In other words, that beautiful woman whom Uki is kicking out of his house is Naksu herself, whom he loves so much, who not only came with the soul, memories, feelings, and the original body, but also came with the upgrade of Bu-Yeon's blood and powers. Anyway, now that we know the truth, let's start calling her Naksu. As she prepared to leave, she noticed a man possessed with a snake eye and followed him, ending up being pulled by the creature into the bathtub. Fortunately, before it was too late, Uki appears and saves her before she drowns. He holds her with one arm while using the other to kill that bizarre creature. Because of this attack, she becomes very weakened, and Uki demonstrates that he still has kindness in his heart, spending the night beside Naksu, taking care of her, keeping her warm, and making sure she will be fine. She manages to open her eyes the moment she sees him drinking the wine from earlier, solidifying their marriage. The next morning, she learns through Kim Do-ju that Uki spent the night taking care of her, and that he suffers every night from spirits pursuing him for the ice stone. And she realizes that this is why he needs her abilities. She just doesn't know that he also wants to die in the process. Believing she is married to Uki, she decides to apologize to Yul for fleeing the wedding, thinking she was supposed to marry him. However, she soon discovers that it was all a confusion of surnames, and she was actually supposed to marry his uncle. During the conversation, Yul senses a familiarity in her and asks if they know each other, but as she has no memories, she doesn't remember her childhood friend. Unlike Yul, Jin-moo sees a portrait of Bu-Yeon and immediately recognizes her as Naksu. Eventually, Naksu is found and escorted back to Jinyoan by the guards. With this, Yul's uncle ends the engagement based on the queen's disapproval, who happens to still be trapped in the burned body of the shaman. Additionally, there is a more urgent reason behind the return of the Seo family to Daeho. Yul continues to feel chest pains because of the worm So-yi placed in his body to save him years ago, and now he urgently needs treatment while keeping it a secret from others. Lady Jin welcomes her supposed daughter with a slap in the face, and then she sews a new type of tracker on the girl's shoulder. All of this because this woman is following the advice of the Machiavellian Jin-moo, who convinced his sister to announce powerful Bu-Yeon as the official heir. This way, the family would regain its reputation after being locked up for 3 years, and they wouldn't lose privileges or magical artifacts. The woman then emotionally blackmails Naksu, who, believing herself to be Bu-Yeon, feels compelled to accept these conditions to protect the Jin family. While deciding whether or not to go in search of his fiancée, Uki sees the lamp that could only be extinguished by a strong priestess, extinguished in front of him. Meanwhile, Naksu is on her way to greet all the officials and be introduced as the heir, which would prevent her from having her freedom. But before things could be finalized, in the midst of the fog, Uki appears holding the newly lit lamp to see if the girl could extinguish it again. In the desperation of being left behind, she grabs his hand, and once again the light goes out. Realizing that she is a true priestess, he reveals to everyone that he will not allow her to become the heir of the Jin family because she is already his wife and now a member of the Park family.